I never believed in love at first sight until the day I met him. It was a warm summer afternoon, and the sun bathed the city streets in a golden glow. Seeking refuge from the bustling chaos, I stepped into a small bookstore tucked away on a quiet corner. The familiar scent of old books filled the air, and the shelves were lined with treasures waiting to be discovered. As I wandered through the narrow aisles, running my fingers along the spines of novels, my eyes were drawn to a particular book on the top shelf. Its cover, worn and weathered, held an air of mystery. Determined to reach it, I stretched my arm as far as I could, my fingertips barely brushing against the book's edge. His smile was disarming, a mischievous glimmer in his eyes as he effortlessly plucked the book from the shelf and handed it to me. "Looks like you have good taste in books," he said, his voice smooth and warm, sending shivers down my spine. I blushed, a rush of embarrassment flooding through me. "Thank you," I replied, trying to regain my composure. "I've been wanting to read this for a while." Ethan's smile widened. "Well, I'm glad I could be of assistance. My name's Ethan, by the way." "I'm Evelyn," I introduced myself, feeling an instant connection with this stranger who had entered my life so unexpectedly. We stood there, exchanging pleasantries and sharing snippets of our lives. Oblivious to the world around us, time seemed to stand still as we delved into deeper conversations, finding comfort and familiarity in each other's words. Before we knew it, the sun had begun its descent, casting long shadows across the bookstore. Reluctantly, we realized we had to part ways, but the spark between us refused to dim. Ethan leaned in closer, his breath grazing my ear as he whispered, "Perhaps we could meet again. There's so much more to talk about." My heart fluttered at his words, and I nodded, my voice barely above a whisper. I would like that. With a promise hanging in the air, we exchanged numbers, the anticipation of future conversations filling us with hope and excitement. As we went our separate ways that evening, I couldn't help but feel that my life had taken an unexpected turn, and I was about to embark on an incredible journey with Ethan by my side. Little did I know that our love would be tested, that obstacles would arise, and that we would have to fight against the odds to be together. But in that moment, all I could focus on was the magic of our chance encounter and the possibilities it held for both of us. Ethan and I embarked on a delicate dance of secrecy, our love hidden from prying eyes. We met in hidden corners of the city, like two clandestine souls drawn together by an irresistible force. Our stolen moments were precious, cherished fragments of time that we treasured dearly. One evening, we found ourselves perched on a park bench beneath the flickering glow of a street lamp. The air crackled with tension as we discussed the complexities of our forbidden love. "I wish we didn't have to hide," I confessed, my voice filled with a hint of sadness. Ethan's gaze softened, and he reached out to cup my face gently. "I know, Evelyn. It's not easy, but we have to hold on. Our love is worth fighting for." I leaned into his touch, feeling a sense of solace in his words. "But what about my family? They have such different expectations for my future." A shadow crossed Ethan's face, his eyes clouded with worry. "We'll find a way, Evelyn. Love has a way of overcoming obstacles. We just have to be patient." And patient we were. We continued to live our lives in parallel, sharing stolen glances and secret smiles in the presence of others, always careful not to arouse suspicion. But the strain of our hidden romance began to take its toll. One day, while walking hand in hand through a bustling market, we noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was my older brother, Andrew, who had a reputation for being nosy and quick to judge. Panic washed over us as we realized our secret was in imminent danger of being exposed. Andrew's eyes narrowed as he caught sight of us, and he approached with a stern expression. "Evelyn, what on earth are you doing here with him?" My heart raced, and I struggled to find the right words. "Andrew, it's not what you think. We're just friends." He scoffed, his disbelief evident. "Friends? Don't lie to me, Evelyn. I can see it in your eyes. You're in love with him, aren't you?" I glanced at Ethan, his face a mix of worry and determination. Summoning all my courage, I faced my brother head on. "Yes, Andrew, I love him, and he loves me too." Andrew's eyes blazed with anger as he towered over us. "You're betraying our family, Evelyn. Father will never accept this." You need to end it now." Tears welled up in my eyes, but I refused to back down. "No, Andrew. This is my life, my happiness. I won't let anyone dictate who I can or cannot love." As Andrew stormed away, leaving us standing there in the midst of the bustling market, a newfound resolve settled within me. Our love may be forbidden, but it was real, and we were prepared to fight for it, no matter the consequences. In the face of mounting challenges, Ethan and I vowed to hold on to our love, even when it seemed impossible. We knew the road ahead would be treacherous, but as long as we had each other, we were ready to face whatever obstacles lay in our path. Little did we know that the battle for our love had only just begun. The revelation of our forbidden love had ignited a firestorm within my family. Their disappointment and anger were palpable, and they were determined to tear us apart by any means necessary. My father, in particular, took it upon himself to extinguish the flame of our love no matter the cost. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure from my family began to suffocate our relationship. Ethan and I found ourselves navigating a minefield of obstacles, each step more treacherous than the last. One evening, as Ethan and I sat on a park bench, hidden from prying eyes, I poured my heart out to him. "Ethan, I don't know how much longer I can endure this. It feels like everything is falling apart." He reached for my trembling hand, his touch a lifeline amidst the chaos. "I understand, Evelyn, but we have to stay strong. We knew this wouldn't be easy, but our love is worth fighting for." A heavy sigh escaped my lips, my voice laced with frustration. "But why can't they see how happy we are together? Why can't they accept that love knows no boundaries?" Ethan's eyes mirrored my pain, and his voice trembled with a mix of sorrow and determination. "Sometimes people are afraid of what they don't understand, Evelyn. They hold on to their beliefs so tightly that they're blind to their beliefs so tightly that they're blind to the beauty of love. But we can't let their ignorance dim our light." Our love continued to be met with disdain and opposition from my family. They went to great lengths to hinder our relationship, ensuring that every encounter was monitored and controlled. Our once vibrant world now felt suffocating and confined. One afternoon, as I sat in my room, I overheard my parents arguing heatedly outside my door. Their voices seeped through the cracks, carrying the weight of their disapproval. "I won't stand for this, Margaret," my father shouted. "She will not tarnish our family's reputation with her reckless choices." My mother's voice quivered with desperation. "But William, she's our daughter. We should be supporting her happiness, not tearing it apart." The door creaked open, and I caught a glimpse of their furious expressions before hastily closing my bedroom door. The truth was undeniable. My family's acceptance seemed like an elusive dream. Days turned into weeks, and the walls around me closed in further. My father's wrath knew no bounds as he devised strategies to weaken our bond. He manipulated situations, turning friends and allies against us. The weight of his actions pressed heavily upon us, threatening to shatter our spirits. But love, as stubborn as it is resilient, kept us fighting. We sought solace in stolen moments, whispering promises of a future where our love would conquer all. Even in the face of adversity, our hearts remained steadfast. One evening, as Ethan and I sat in the dimly lit room of our secret sanctuary, we contemplated the toll our love had taken. "Evelyn," Ethan said, his voice tinged with both sadness and determination, "we knew this path wouldn't be easy, but we can't let them win. We have to keep believing in our love, even when it feels impossible." Tears welled up in my eyes, and I nodded, my voice choked with emotion. "I won't give up on us, Ethan. No matter what they throw our way, we'll face it together." Hand in hand, we embraced, finding strength in each other's presence. We vowed to remain resilient, ready to weather the storms that lay ahead. Little did we know that the trials we had faced were just the beginning, and our love would be tested in ways we couldn't yet imagine. The weight of my family's disapproval hung heavy in the air, threatening to crush our spirits. But nothing could have prepared us for the devastating turn our lives would take. It was a sunny afternoon, the sky painted in hues of blue and white. Ethan had decided to take his motorcycle for a ride, seeking solace and freedom on the open road. Unbeknownst to us, my father's wrath had taken a sinister turn. As Ethan maneuvered through the city streets, his every move controlled by the twisting of the throttle, he suddenly felt a jolt, a loss of control. Panic gripped him as he fought against the motorcycle's momentum, desperately trying to regain control. But it was too late. Father cut the brake. The screeching of brakes filled the air as the motorcycle careened into a lamppost. Metal collided with metal, and the world blurred into a cacophony of chaos and pain. Ethan's body was flung through the air, crashing onto the unforgiving pavement. When I received the news, my heart shattered into a million pieces. Fear and anguish consumed me as I rushed to the hospital, praying that he would survive. As I stood by his bedside, his body adorned with casts and bandages, the room felt suffocating with the weight of our love and the darkness of my family's actions. Tears streamed down my face as I gently held Ethan's hand. "Please, Ethan, don't leave me. We have so much more to overcome. I need you." His voice, weak but filled with determination, escaped his lips. "I'm not going anywhere, Evelyn. We've come too far to let this tragedy define us. We'll fight together." I clung to his words like a lifeline, finding solace in the strength of our love. In the days that followed, we faced a new reality, one of hospitals, surgeries, and rehabilitation. But through it all, our bond grew stronger, forged in the fire of adversity. As Ethan's body mended, we hatched a plan to rise above the shackles of my family's oppression and reclaim our love. One evening, as the setting sun painted the sky in shades of gold, Ethan looked at me with determination in his eyes. "Evelyn, we can't let them break us. It's time we take control of our own destiny." I nodded, a flicker of defiance igniting within me. "You're right, Ethan. It's time to show them that our love cannot be extinguished." Together, we delved into the depths of our strength and resilience, plotting our revenge against those who sought to tear us apart. My father, a powerful businessman, held his secrets tightly guarded in his safe. It was there that we would strike, where his vulnerabilities lay. Late into the night, with stealth and determination, we executed our plan. I slipped a laxative into my father's tea, watching as he unwittingly consumed it. As the laxative took effect, causing him to retreat to the bathroom, I seized the opportunity. With my heart pounding in my chest, I entered my father's study, the safe standing imposingly in the corner. I cracked the combination, my hands trembling, and as the safe door swung open, I felt a surge of liberation. Grabbing the files, I carried them outside into the moonlit yard. With each file that met the flames, I felt a sense of release. A sense of release. A symbolic act of shedding the shackles that bound us. Ethan watched me with a mixture of pride and love in his eyes. "We did it, Evelyn. We've taken a step towards freedom." As the embers of the burning files danced in the night, we knew that our actions would have consequences, but we were prepared to face them, to fight for our love with every ounce of our being. Hand in hand, we walked away from the burning remnants of the past, ready to embrace the uncertain future that awaited us. Our path was filled with challenges, but our love burned brighter than ever, guiding us through the darkness as we sought a life free from the chains of oppressions. In the aftermath of our audacious act of revenge, the repercussions were swift and merciless. The flames that consumed my father's files served as a catalyst, igniting a firestorm of rage within my family. They were determined to crush our love, and they would stop at nothing to do so. The once fragile walls that confined me now felt impenetrable. My movements were scrutinized, my every move controlled. I became a prisoner in my own home, held captive by the iron grip of my family's wrath. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of confinement grew heavier with each passing moment. I longed to break free, to be reunited with Ethan, but the reality of our situation seemed insurmountable. In the depths of my solitude, I found solace in the memories of our stolen moments. The whispers in the night, the gentle touch of his hand, and the promises we made to one another. Those memories became a lifeline, reminding me of the love that fueled our resilience. One evening, as I sat alone in my room, the walls closing in on me, I heard a soft knock on my door. My heart leaped with hope as I rushed to open it, praying that it was Ethan standing on the other side. To my surprise, it was my younger sister, Lily, her eyes filled with both worry and determination. "Evelyn, we can't let them keep us apart. I've seen how much you love Ethan, and I won't stand idly by while they tear you apart." Tears welled up in my eyes as I embraced Lily, feeling a glimmer of hope ignite within me. "Lily, you don't understand how much this means to me. But what can we do? The walls around us seem impenetrable." She smiled, a flicker of mischief in her eyes. "We may not be able to break down the walls, but we can find a way around them. I have an idea." Together, Lily and I devised a plan to circumvent the watchful eyes of my family and reunite me with Ethan. We would use the cover of darkness to orchestrate our escape, relying on our love and determination to guide us through the treacherous path that lay ahead. The night of our escape arrived, and my heart raced with anticipation as I tiptoed down the silent corridors. Following Lily's lead, she had mapped out the escape route meticulously, avoiding the security cameras and the guards patrolling the premises. As we reached the side entrance, Lily turned to me, her voice filled with both excitement and nervousness. "Evelyn, this is it. We're taking control of our own destiny. Are you ready?" I nodded, a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. "I'm ready, Lily. Let's do this." With that, we slipped into the night, stealthily making our way through the darkened streets. Fear and anticipation mingled within me as we drew closer to our destination, the place where Ethan awaited, a symbol of freedom and love. Finally, we reached our rendezvous point, where Ethan stood, his eyes shining with a mixture of relief and love. I ran into his arms, feeling the weight of the world lifting off my shoulders. "Evelyn," he whispered, his voice filled with both tenderness and determination. "We're finally together again. Nothing can tear us apart now." I held him tightly, my heart swelling with joy. "You're right, Ethan. Our love is stronger than anything they throw at us. We'll face whatever comes our way, united." In that moment, surrounded by the darkness and uncertainty, we found solace in each other's embrace. We were free from the confines of my family's oppression, free to chart our own path, and free to love without limitations. As the embers of our newfound freedom flickered in our hearts, we knew that our journey was far from over. The scars of my family's oppression still marred our souls, and the desire for justice burned within us. It was time to turn the tables and make them taste the bitterness they had inflicted upon us. Ethan and I retreated to a secluded hideaway, a place where we could gather our thoughts and devise a plan to bring my family to their knees. Surrounded by walls adorned with newspaper clippings and photographs, we immersed ourselves in the depths of vengeance. Ethan's eyes glinted with determination as he spoke, his voice laced with a righteous anger. "Evelyn, we can't let them get away with what they've done. They thought they could break us, but we'll show them the strength of our love." I nodded, my heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. "You're right, Ethan. It's time to unveil their true nature and make them pay for their cruelty." Together, we embarked on a journey of research and revelation, peeling back the layers of my family's deceit and corruption. We discovered the intricate web of their business dealings, the lies they had spun to maintain their facade of respectability. Days turned into weeks as we meticulously gathered evidence, a tapestry of secrets and lies that would unravel my family's carefully crafted image. We knew that to truly hurt them, we had to strike at the heart of their power, the files my father had meticulously kept in his safe. One night, as we sat huddled together, poring over the gathered evidence, Ethan's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. "Evelyn, I have an idea. We can expose them, not just to the world, but to themselves. We'll make them face the monsters they've become." Intrigued, I leaned closer, my curiosity piqued. "Tell me, Ethan, what's your plan?" A mischievous smile played on his lips as he unveiled his strategy. "We'll find a way to confront them publicly, expose their crimes, and make them accountable for their actions. We'll show the world the true faces behind the masks." Excitement coursed through my veins as I embraced his plan. Yes, Ethan, let's shine a light on their darkness. It's time they faced the consequences of their actions. Together, we spent countless nights refining our plan, anticipating their moves, and strategizing our next steps. We knew it wouldn't be easy, that the road ahead would be treacherous, but we were fueled by a burning desire for justice and the strength of our love. The day of reckoning arrived, an annual gala hosted by my family where influential figures from the business world gathered to celebrate their success. It was the perfect stage to expose their true colors and bring them crashing down from their lofty pedestals. As we made our way through the grand ballroom, our hearts pounding with a mix of nervousness and determination, we exchanged a knowing glance. This was our moment, the culmination of our planning and resilience. Ethan squeezed my hand, his voice filled with unwavering determination. Remember, Evelyn, we're doing this not just for ourselves, but for everyone they've hurt. We will prevail. With a deep breath, I nodded, my voice filled with quiet resolve. Together, Ethan, will strip away their power and restore justice. We approached the podium where my father stood, his charismatic smile masking a sea of deceit. As I stepped forward, the room fell silent, anticipation thick in the air. My dear guests, I began, my voice steady and resolute. Today, I stand before you to unveil the truth hidden behind the polished facade of my family's empire. The truth that my father, a man revered by many, is but a wolf in sheep's clothing. Gasps filled the room as I presented the evidence, the files, the documents, the irrefutable proof of their corruption. The once admiring eyes now glared with a mixture of shock and disbelief. My father's face contorted with rage and desperation, but there was no escaping the truth. The carefully crafted lies crumbled, leaving only the stark reality of their crimes. As the room erupted into chaos, I turned to Ethan, a sense of triumph and relief washing over me. We did it, Ethan. We've exposed them for who they truly are. He smiled, his eyes shimmering with pride and love. Yes, Evelyn. We've brought them to their knees, and now they'll have to face the consequences of their actions. In that moment, revenge tasted both sweet and bittersweet. We had unveiled the darkness that had haunted us for so long, but the journey had taken its toll. As we stood hand in hand, we knew that our lives would never be the same. The road ahead was uncertain, but together, we would face whatever challenges awaited us, knowing that our love had triumphed over the forces that had sought to tear us apart. In the aftermath of the explosive revelation at the gala, the world around us seemed to spin in a chaotic frenzy. The once mighty empire my family had built crumbled, reduced to mere ashes of its former glory. But amidst the wreckage, Ethan and I found a sense of liberation, a renewed spirit burning within us. News of my family's downfall spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of media outlets and the public alike. Our story, once one of forbidden love and oppression, had transformed into a tale of resilience and justice. We became symbols of triumph over adversity, inspiring others to challenge the chains that held them captive. With newfound strength and determination, Ethan and I forged ahead, ready to embrace the uncertain future that awaited us. We no longer had to hide in the shadows, concealed by the veil of secrecy. The world knew our story, and we were ready to live it to the fullest. As we stood on the balcony of our new apartment, the city lights glittering below, Ethan turned to me, his voice filled with hope. Evelyn, can you believe how far we've come? We've overcome so much, and now we have the chance to build a life of our own. I leaned into him, a sense of contentment washing over me. It feels surreal, Ethan. We've faced darkness, but now we can bask in the light of our love. Together, we embarked on a journey of self-discovery and growth. We pursued our passions, pursuing careers that aligned with our true selves, free from the chains of familial expectations. We immersed ourselves in art, literature, and music, allowing our souls to soar to new heights. But our journey was not without its challenges. The wounds inflicted by my family's oppression ran deep, and healing took time. There were moments when doubt and insecurity threatened to engulf us. Yet we leaned on each other, supporting, and lifting one another up. One evening, as we sat in our cozy living room, a crackling fire casting a warm glow, Ethan spoke softly, his voice filled with tenderness. "Evelyn, I want you to know that I'm here for you, always. We've come so far, but if there are still ghosts of the past haunting you, we'll face them together." Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked into his soulful gaze. "Thank you, Ethan. You've been my rock, my anchor in the storm. With you by my side, I know I can conquer anything." And so we continued to heal, to grow, and to love fiercely. The scars of the past slowly faded, replaced by a sense of resilience and gratitude. We celebrated each milestone, cherishing the small victories that led us closer to the life we had envisioned. As the flames of our liberation burned brighter, we found ourselves not only free from the shackles of my family's oppression, but free to dream, to explore, and to create our own legacy. Our love, once hidden in the shadows, now illuminated our path forward. Together, we walked hand in hand, embracing the beauty and unpredictability of life. We had faced adversity, survived the storm, and emerged stronger than ever. Our love story, once filled with obstacles and pain, had transformed into a testament of triumph, a tale of two souls who refused to be silenced. And as the world continued to spin, we reveled in the simple joy of being alive, knowing that the flames of our liberation would guide us to a future filled with endless possibilities.
The room hung heavy with an oppressive silence, disrupted solely by the rhythmic ticking of the aged clock on the wall. Across from me, Mark, my husband of 3 decades, remained engrossed in the television, his attention as distant as ever. I sat in quiet contemplation, drowning in the weight of unspoken grievances and suppressed anger that had accumulated over the years. I had reached a breaking point. "Did you finish moving?" Mark's voice, laced with habitual condescension, shattered the stillness. Without meeting his gaze, I calmly responded, "I'm leaving, Mark." Internally, a tempest raged, yet my outward demeanor remained composed. Mark scoffed dismissively, "Oh, really? And where will you go, Anna? You can't survive without me." His words stung, but they also ignited a newfound determination within me. Enduring his dismissive demeanor and his mother's constant interference had lasted long enough. It was time to reclaim my life. "I'll manage," I declared, standing up. Empowerment surged within me, eclipsing the fear and uncertainty that lay ahead. Mark's mother, who had been living with us for the past year, entered the room. Her eyes narrowed as she observed my packed bags. "Running away, are we?" she sneered. "I knew you didn't have the spine to handle this family." Ignoring her, I seized my bags and headed towards the door. Mark made no move to stop me. Instead, he called out, "You'll be back. You need us." Stepping outside, a sense of liberation washed over me. The cool evening breeze felt like a soothing balm to my stifled soul. I didn't know where I was headed, but for the first time in years, a glimmer of hope flickered within me. For 3 decades, I had played the role of the dutiful wife to Mark, a man who viewed me more as a convenience than a partner. Our son, Alex, remained the sole beacon of light in my life. But even Alex, my son, couldn't mend the expanding void in my heart. Mark's mother, with her ceaseless criticisms and manipulations, only fueled the toxicity within our home. I secured a modest yet peaceful apartment, my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe and think without the weight of judgment. In the following days, I turned a deaf ear to the barrage of calls and messages from Mark and his mother. Their tones fluctuated between pleading and threats, but I had grown immune to their attempts. My co-workers at the library, where I had worked part-time for years, were a source of support. They had witnessed the gradual loss of my spirit and now observed my rebirth. As I settled into my new routine one evening, my phone rang. It was Alex. "Mom, are you okay?" His voice echoed with concern. "I am? Alex, better than I've been in years," I replied, my voice unwavering. "I'm proud of you, Mom." "Dad and Grandma, they're not taking it well. Dad's been drinking, and Grandma won't stop talking about how you've abandoned them. A pang of guilt struck me, but I pushed it aside. They'll manage, Alex. They need to learn to respect others. There was silence for a moment. I'm glad you're finally thinking about yourself, Mom. Let me know if you need anything. As I hung up the phone, I recognized that this was just the beginning. Mark and his mother had underestimated me for years. It was time to demonstrate that I was no longer the woman they believed they could control. My journey of self-discovery and revenge had just commenced in my small apartment, surrounded by the few belongings I had taken with me. Reflecting on the past 30 years with Mark, our once promising marriage had disintegrated into a mere shadow of what it could have been. It all started blissfully. Mark was charming and attentive, and we were young, full of dreams. As the years unfolded, the once charming facade faded, unveiling a man more engrossed in his own desires than the needs of his family. The birth of Alex, our son, was anticipated to bring us closer, but it merely underscored our disparities. Mark's concept of parenting revolved around financial provision, leaving the emotional nurturing to me. Eleanor, his mother, perpetually loomed in the background, her critiques of my parenting a persistent drone. "Anna, you're coddling the boy too much," she would assert, while Mark brushed off the need for such care. Enduring her constant jibes, I focused on raising Alex, who blossomed into a thoughtful and independent young man despite the tension at home. The turning point arrived when Eleanor moved in with us, a decision Mark never bothered to discuss with me. I returned home one day to find her bags in the hallway. "My house is too lonely," she declared, a manipulative glint in her eye. Living with Eleanor became stifling. She criticized everything from my cooking to my attire, always asserting that Mark could have done better. These remarks were frequently made within my earshot, adding to the suffocation of an already strained environment. What shattered me to my core was the revelation of Mark's betrayal. Inadvertently stumbling upon bank statements one day, I uncovered substantial withdrawals from our joint account, funds fueling Eleanor's gambling habit and Mark's clandestine indulgences. Confrontations ensued, marked by heated arguments where Mark consistently sided with his mother. "She needs this to cope with her loneliness," he would argue dismissively, deflecting my concerns. The breaking point arrived when I overheard a conversation between them, scheming to seize complete control of our finances, relegating me to nothing more than an occupant in their house. In that moment, I realized I could no longer endure living in their oppressive shadow. The day I left, I made a solemn vow that they would one day comprehend the pain they had inflicted. My plan, though simple, proved effective. I resolved to strike where it hurt the most, their pride and their finances. Initiating legal separation of our finances, I left Mark dumbfounded. "What do you think you're doing?" he bellowed over the phone. "Protecting myself. Something I should have done years ago," I calmly asserted. Eleanor's reaction was even more dramatic. "You ungrateful wretch. After everything we've done for you," she screeched when she discovered the move. Unmoved, I stood firm. The years of submission were over, and I was now playing by my own rules. This was just the beginning of their karmic reckoning. The weeks following my financial independence were tumultuous. Mark and Eleanor were furious, their true natures fully exposed in their anger. Venomous calls poured in, each more spiteful than the last. "You think you're clever, Anna?" Mark hissed during one call. "You're nothing without me. You'll come crawling back." "I won't, Mark. I'm done being your puppet," I replied, my newfound strength fortifying my words. Eleanor was even more vitriolic. "You'll regret this, Anna. You've ruined our family." "There was no family to ruin, Eleanor. It was an illusion," I shot back, undeterred by their threats. I basked in the newfound sense of liberation, the fear that once held me captive now replaced by an unwavering desire for justice. It was time for Mark and Eleanor to confront the consequences of their actions. I initiated the process by reconnecting with old friends and acquaintances, divulging the truth about Mark and Eleanor's manipulations and financial deceit. The story swiftly circulated, staining their reputations. Mark, who took pride in his social standing, was appalled. How could you do this to me? He demanded during a rare face-to-face encounter. You did this to yourself, I replied calmly. I'm just shedding light on it. Eleanor, faced with the community's judgment, was equally distraught. You've turned everyone against us. This is war, Anna. But I was no longer intimidated by her. No, Eleanor, this is justice, I asserted. I witnessed their world crumble. Mark's friends distanced themselves, wary of his tarnished image. Eleanor's once proud social circle dwindled as the truth about her gambling and manipulation came to light. However, I didn't stop there. Recognizing their financial instability as their weakest point, I enlisted the help of a lawyer to initiate the process of claiming my share of our joint assets. This move ensured that Eleanor's gambling debts were exposed, and Mark's mismanagement of our finances was brought into the spotlight. The court proceedings were arduous, but I stood my ground. Mark and Eleanor's attempts to discredit me fell flat. Their lies and deceit were no match for the truth. The judge ruled in my favor, granting me a significant portion of our assets. I witnessed the defeat in Mark and Eleanor's eyes. It was more than just a legal victory. It was a moral one. You've destroyed us, Anna, Mark said, a shadow of his former arrogant self. No, Mark. You destroyed us long ago. I'm just picking up the pieces, I replied. Walking out of the courtroom, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I looked forward to the future, free from the chains of my past. Mark and Eleanor's downfall was the first step in my journey of reclaiming my life, and I was ready for whatever came next. The aftermath of the court ruling was a whirlwind. With my rightful share of the assets, I began building a life free from Mark and Eleanor's shadow. Their reactions, however, were a mix of disbelief and fury. You can't do this to us, Anna, Mark exclaimed over the phone one evening, his voice laced with desperation. I've done nothing but take back what's mine, I replied firmly. You should have thought about the consequences before you betrayed me. Eleanor's response was more underhanded. She tried to rally family members against me, painting herself as a victim. However, her attempts were futile. The truth about her had spread too far. Anna, you're tearing this family apart, she accused during a chance encounter at the grocery store. This family was broken long before I left, I retorted, unyielding in my resolve. I countered, refusing to give Eleanor the satisfaction of seeing me upset. I relished the freedom of living on my own terms. Taking a decisive step, I changed my phone number, severing their direct line of harassment. Volunteering at a local shelter became a source of solace, offering support to others who have faced similar struggles. However, my quest for justice was far from over. Learning that Eleanor planned to contest the court's decision, still clinging to the hope of reclaiming money for her gambling habits, she threatened, "You won't get away with this, Anna. I'll make sure of it," in a message relayed through a relative. In response, I fortified my legal defenses, ready to counter any move she made. No longer the woman who shied away from confrontation, I had become a fighter, standing up for what was rightfully mine. Meanwhile, Mark crumbled under the pressure. His once pristine image was tarnished, and his career suffered as a result. Friends and connections he valued distanced themselves, unwilling to associate with a man caught in scandal. "You've ruined me, Anna," he lamented during a rare moment of reflection. "You ruined yourself, Mark. I just exposed the truth," I replied. As weeks turned into months, I witnessed their once secure world disintegrate. Eleanor's attempt to contest the court's decision failed miserably, leaving her financially and socially bankrupt. Mark's career continued its downward spiral, his reputation irreparably damaged. Despite their downfall, I felt no joy in their suffering. It was a necessary step in my journey, but it was not the end. I had reclaimed my independence and my dignity. I was still healing from years of neglect and emotional abuse as I continued to rebuild my life. Focusing on finding peace and happiness within myself, I emerged from the shadows of my past stronger and more resilient. My story was not one of revenge, but of emancipation, a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Several months had passed since the court's decision, and the ripples of my actions were still felt. Mark and Eleanor, now estranged from most of their acquaintances, were living a shadow of their former lives. One day, I received an unexpected visit from Alex. He looked troubled, his usually bright eyes clouded with concern. "Mom, I just came from seeing Dad and Grandma," he began, his voice heavy. "They're not doing well." I offered him a seat and a warm cup of tea. "Tell me what happened, Alex." He sighed deeply before continuing. "Dad's been let go from his job. His drinking has gotten worse, and Grandma, she's lost everything to gambling. They're selling the house." I listened, my heart aching for Alex. Despite everything, they were still his family. "Mom, did we go too far?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Alex, we stood up for what's right. They made their choices," I replied, my voice tinged with sadness. The news of their misfortune didn't bring me joy. Instead, it was a somber reminder of the consequences of a life lived without integrity and respect for others. The following weeks were filled with whispers and rumors. Mark and Eleanor's house, once a symbol of their success, was now on the market. Their fall from grace was complete. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Mark had tried to find work, but his reputation preceded him. Eleanor, meanwhile, had become a pariah in her social circles. Her gambling addiction was now public knowledge. One evening, while I was out for a walk, I saw Mark. He was a shadow of the man he once was, his posture slumped, his eyes hollow. Our paths crossed, and for a moment, we stood there in silence. "Anna," he began, his voice cracking. "There's nothing to say." "Mark," I interrupted, "you chose your path." He nodded slowly, a resigned look in his eyes. "I never thought it would come to this," he murmured. As I walked away, leaving Mark behind, I felt a sense of closure. The man who had once held so much power over me was now just a stranger with a broken past. Eleanor, too, faded into obscurity. Her once lively demeanor was now subdued, the realities of her actions finally catching up to her. As the chapter of Mark and Eleanor closed, I realized that my journey was about more than revenge. It was about reclaiming my life and finding peace. I had stood up to my oppressors not for vengeance, but for justice and self-respect. The experience had taught me the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself. As I continued to build my new life, I did so with newfound strength and a heart ready to embrace the future. Months turned into a year since the upheaval of my life began. In this time, my journey of self-reinvention continued, with each day bringing new strengths and realizations. The downfall of Mark and Eleanor was not my endgame. It was merely a byproduct of my pursuit for justice and respect. One crisp autumn afternoon, I sat in my cozy living room, reflecting on the changes. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Alex. "Mom, I wanted to tell you something," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. "Sarah and I are getting married, and we'd love for you to help us with the planning." Joy surged through me. "That's wonderful news, Alex. Of course, I'd love to help." Our conversation was filled with laughter and plans for the future, a stark contrast to the distress and despair from the past. A few days later, while out for my regular walk, I encountered Eleanor. She seemed smaller, diminished somehow. Our eyes met, and there was a brief flicker of something, regret, perhaps, or realization, in hers. "Anna," she began, her voice quivering. "I'm sorry." The apology, unexpected and late, caught me off guard. "Eleanor, your actions brought you here. I hope you find some peace." As I walked away, leaving Eleanor standing alone, I realized the full extent of my transformation. I no longer harbored anger or resentment. I had moved beyond the need for revenge. The wedding planning with Alex and Sarah was a joyful affair. It was during these moments, surrounded by love and hope, that I truly appreciated the beauty of moving forward. The day of the wedding arrived, a beautiful ceremony filled with laughter and tears of joy. Watching Alex and Sarah, so full of love and promise, I felt a sense of accomplishment. Despite the challenges, we had emerged stronger. In my toast, I said, life brings many challenges, but it's how we face them that defines us. Today, we celebrate love, resilience, and new beginnings. As the evening drew to a close, I looked around at the happy faces, feeling content. I had not only survived, I had thrived. In the years that followed, Mark and Eleanor remained distant memories. I heard through the grapevine that they had moved away, each carrying their own burdens. My life, once overshadowed by their presence, was now my own. I found fulfillment in my work, joy in my role as a mother and friend, and peace in my solitary moments. As I sat in my garden one sunny afternoon, watching the flowers bloom, I realized this was what true freedom felt like. My journey had been long and fraught with obstacles, but it led me to a place of contentment and strength. The end of my marriage was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I was the author of my own life. In this new chapter, I found happiness, peace, and a sense of self that